All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another NBA Finals video. In this video, we're going to recap and react to Game 3, the first one in New York. We're gonna talk about what I like, what I didn't like, the good performers, the bad performers. Looking forward to the rest of the series and what happened in this game. So if you like what I say, like the video. If you have any opinions, comment it down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. So yeah, we're going to get into the game. We're going to try to ignore all the outside factors that surrounded Game 3 and just talk about Game 3 because that's what this channel is. It's just about basketball. I don't really care about anything else that's surrounding the game, what was going on outside the arena or even inside the arena last night. I just care about the game that was being played on the hardwood. And to get into this game, this was a very different game. And this is going to be a theme throughout this whole video, but something that I noticed and some people noticed as well is that it feels like the Spurs team just plays better on the road. They just like the hostility and they like the, I guess like they like being, I don't want to say like being the bad guys, but they like just being out there in a different environment and adapting to that environment as a young team. You don't get to experience a lot of things when you're a young player, and all these players being so young, they don't know how to feel, about being the bad guy. They just embrace it. But to get into the actual game here, I do have notes for this game. I have notes for every game, and we're gonna go through them right now. My first note here is there were two very fast turnovers for New York to start this game, and that was sort of set the table. That would set the table for what would be the first. What would be like, I guess, like the 3 quarters of basketball that the Knicks played. They weren't really keeping the ball to themselves. They were throwing it away a little bit, sort of like the Spurs were in Game 1 and Game 2. The Spurs also did throw the ball away a little bit here and there. But in the first quarter, as the Spurs have done in every first quarter, they had a great first quarter. And I saw a tweet on Twitter where it was like, if the Spurs only had to play the first half of basketball, they would be like 5-time NBA champs. And that is so true because they play really good first quarters and even second quarters of basketball. And then the second half is where it starts to fall apart. But in this first quarter of this game, the Spurs had a really big first quarter, and then they did give up some easy shots in like the middle of the first where the Knicks sort of started to get into their groove. But overall in the first, it was really solid for the Spurs, and it felt like they had found their groove again after struggling back-to-back games. You can take all the positives from every game you've played so far, and you can say, well, it doesn't really matter if we have a good first, but I think it does. It does matter if they have a good first, and you want to start the game well and be able to build on everything that you already have, and if they didn't start the first well enough, especially in New York, I would be more concerned. Something small I noticed throughout the rest of the first was they put Keldon Johnson on Karl Anthony Towns. And Keldon Johnson, for what he is, and as much as he's struggled this whole series, and even dating back to he had the one good game against Oklahoma in the closeout. I guess that erases everything else, right? But they put Keldon Johnson on Karl Anthony Towns for a little bit. I don't think they tried it in the second half. I think it was just a first half thing. But I liked it well enough, and I'd like to see more of it, especially because Karl didn't have it going, and Keldon kind of kept Karl from getting it going. Karl Anthony Towns ended the game. I'm not saying this is solely because of Keldon Johnson, but Karl Anthony Towns ended the game with 11 points, 4 of 10 from field goal, did not make a single three, took 2 of them, 8 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 steals, 2 blocks, so that's really good for Karl. 1 turnover. He did have 4 fouls. We're going to get to the quote-unquote free throw disparity between these two teams later on, but I really did enjoy Keldon on Karl, and I don't know what it was. I think it's something similar to like what well, this is a crazy example, but this is like the most like how would I say this? Most basic example when the Mavericks back in the day put JJ Barea on LeBron James and it sort of just threw LeBron off of his rhythm. I feel like Keldon Johnson being smaller but being stockier, putting him on Carl made Carl, excuse me, think a little too much. Even though Carl has had a great, I guess, like month or two now of like distributing the basketball and like getting, seeing the floor and like getting the ball to where it needs to be. But Keldon being there, it kept Carl on his toes, and you wonder if maybe they'll run that more going into the other games of this series. There were some other small things that happened in the first. The Spurs got to shoot a technical free throw. I believe it was Devin Vassell who shot it, and he missed it. I that free throw was haunting me a little bit because I was like, if this is another 1 point game that the Spurs lose, you're gonna look back on that technical free throw that they took, and you're gonna be like, oh, they should have made that one. Um, Moving on to the other players on the Spurs, De'Aaron Fox. This is what is the genesis of me thinking the Spurs team is better on the road. But De'Aaron Fox is just better on the road. I mean, he didn't end the game particularly well, but at least he was participating in the game in the first quarter. De'Aaron Fox ended the game with 12 points, took 5 threes, didn't make any of them. 8 assists, 3 rebounds, only 2 turnovers, 2 blocks, 1 steal, 3 personal fouls in 37 minutes. I'll take it where I can get it. If Fox can give me a good quarter, a good half a quarter, I'll be happy with it because he's been very up and down, especially in these finals, but in the playoffs, he's been very up and down. And if Fox isn't gonna score, and this is just my personal thought, if Fox isn't gonna score, he needs to be like the primary defender on Jalen Brunson because he needs to go out there and do something because it feels like almost every game, Dylan Harper at least looks more impactful. The numbers might not back that up, but at least he looks more impactful. Dylan Harper makes those shots that you need in those moments, and they feel good. De'Aaron Fox is kind of out there sometimes. Sometimes I forget he's out there. And at some points during this game, they ran the 4 guard lineup, and I don't want to say Fox was the worst guard out there because that's not fair to him, but it felt like he was the worst guard out there. I felt like if I had to take one of these guys off the floor and get another forward in there, it would have probably been Fox that I took out. As we get into the second quarter here, the Knicks start to percolate a little bit, and this was on the back of an OG Anunoby run. OG had a really good game, second leading scorer on the Knicks team, 28 points, 9 for 13 from field goal, 3 of 7 from three, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, um, 1 turnover, 2 personal fouls, 2 blocks. He was really sensational on offense, like truly. And this goes back to my thing where when we talked about the possibility of the Spurs losing the Oklahoma series, I thought about this and I said, the Spurs need a real four. Or they need like a 4-3, a really good like forward, legitimately. And this is one of these games again where like no, for some reason, I don't know if it was just the defensive scheme or just like OG's just that good now. They could not guard OG Anunoby. They just couldn't. The Spurs they just couldn't. They tried a lot of different things and somehow the ball just either always found OG and he just got the shot up. He was deadly in those corners and sort of not at the top of the near the I guess the top near the logo, but in those corners in those wing areas, he was deadly. Once he caught the ball, he would shoot it. I think he got fouled maybe once or twice on a 3 point attempt. I think he made it once and he missed it the other time, but he still got to shoot two, three free throws. Try to say that a couple times. But OG really, I guess, I want to say carried. No, he carried because he was the highest scorer and the most efficient in this game. He was 9 to 13 from field goal, and everybody else not great. And he made he was tied for the second most threes in this game for the Knicks. So, um, moving on here. Oh, did I said this in my note. I have this in my note, but Carter Bryant for the Spurs. Carter, I know you mean well. I know you really do. I know you're just you're a young player. This is your first year. You make me scratch my head sometimes because you're gambling on things and you're trying to do a little too much sometimes, and I don't think it paid off once. Maybe once in the whole playoff run, it's paid off. Um, he played 4 minutes this game, 3 points, made one three, no steal, one block, no steals. Just sort of like he's thrown out there just to run around. And if he gets a steal or makes a three, good. But you're not depending on him to do a lot. And I'm not saying I'm not saying he has to do a lot this playoff run, but like going forward into the future, I need Carter Bryant to be maybe that 3-4 that can go out there and guard, OG Anunoby. He can guard him last night, but maybe in a couple years he could. Um, in my notes here, I have the Spurs just need to hold on and end the second quarter well. Um, this is when the Spurs started tumbling, and I was like, oh no, this is the exact same thing that happened in the first two games where they had a really good first, and then the second, the Knicks started pushing them into the corner, and started bullying them a little bit with their shot making. OG in the corner making threes, um, and then the Spurs lost the lead after having I guess what they lead by 10. It might have been like 8 or 10 points, which in this series it feels like a lot, 8 or 10 points. Um, but they lost it. I have more notes about OG Anunoby. They couldn't guard him, and the Spurs end this first half poorly. It was really a reflection of the past two games in this series, and you start thinking the Knicks are an MSG. They're going to come out in this third quarter. They're going to really punch the Spurs in the mouth and going to go up three to nothing, um, and that would have been devastating. But um, going into this second half here, I don't have a lot of notes for the third, but I have a lot for the fourth. It was a very rough start um, to the second half for the Spurs. Just a lot of fouls, a lot of missed shots. It felt like more of like just the young, we'll call it young player syndrome, where they just can't they can't hold on to these little moments and these little things, and they start doing dumb stuff, and they start like overreacting to things that are in the moment very small. You think about these little moments in finals games, they all feel really big. Every turnover, every loose ball feels big, but in the course of these games, you can't think like that. You have to think, this is just a small moment, we'll get it back next play, we'll get it back another time down, right? But these young Spurs players, they just overreact, and they get themselves into trouble. And there was that quote that I read to you guys, from Stefan Castle about this, about game two, where they did it to themselves, and they have to stop doing it to themselves. And the third quarter was not indicative of that. They kept shooting themselves in the foot. Wemby, however, got it really going. Gets the Spurs back in front about halfway through the third, and it felt like it was going well. Felt like it was going, and then they lost it again. Um, this third quarter drove me insane for a lot of reasons, but the main one I wrote down was just none of the Spurs players boxing out. It was just lazy, no box outs from any of the Spurs players, even though they're a really good rebounding team. Um, they got the boards that mattered. If you look at the rebounding numbers, the Knicks got like 10 more rebounds than them, essentially, almost 10 more rebounds. Um, the Spurs got the ones that they needed. I just really wish they would pay more attention to the glass, because when this team rebounds spectacularly well, they are really good. They are really, really good. And then when they don't, you get like guys like I hate to see you get guys like Jalen Brunson getting rebounds. He had 5 rebounds. You get guys like Jordan Clarkson, 3 rebounds. Landry Shamet, 4 rebounds. Jose Alvarado, 3 rebounds. You get guys who really shouldn't be out rebounding you, get rebounds, and it hurts the second chance opportunities. It hurts the transition buckets for the Spurs, and it just throws off the rhythm of everything that the Spurs want to do. And I really like the Spurs team when it rebounds and it shoots threes and they kick the ball out. And that, I think it was game one, right? Yeah, game one, where they were just I forget what series or game it was, but they were just rotating the ball. They were getting downhill, kicking it out, getting downhill, kicking it out until they got the shot they wanted or the mismatch they wanted. And it feels like the Knicks haven't let them do that at all. And the Knicks have made this series their series, and the Spurs are sort of like grasping at straws, trying to match what the Knicks do. And then in some cases, the Spurs can match, and in other cases, you can't. The Spurs can't. Um, Heading into the fourth here, the Spurs threes started drying up a lot. This is when Jalen Brunson really started getting it going. Even though Jalen Brunson did not have the most efficient night, he at least tried to will his team to the victory. Along with OG Anunoby, like we said, 28 points. Jalen Brunson had 32 points, 3 of 5 from 3, 11 of 25 from field goal. It didn't feel like that in the moment, but looking at this score sheet right here, it definitely feels like it. Definitely feels like it. 8 of 7 from free throw, or 7 of 8 from free throw. He had 5 turnovers. Damn, Jalen Brunson had 5 turnovers. So every assist he had 1 turnover, and he had 5 rebounds. Um, he had five personal fouls too. Yeah, it wasn't a great night for for Jalen Brunson in New York. Um, Mikal Bridges, another just not show up game. Just didn't show up. 2 points. Yep, 2 points. You heard me right, from Mikal Bridges in a finals game. 2 points. Crazy. This is how bad he was. I didn't even notice that he was this bad. That's how you know you're bad, when you just don't, nobody notices that you were that bad until they look at the box score and they're like, oh yeah. Josh Hart, 16 points, 4 of 7 from three. This is the kind of Josh Hart game that you have to capitalize on. This is the kind of game, the OG Anunoby game, that you have to capitalize on, and the Knicks just really couldn't do it. Um, you have like your peripheral scores like OG, like Josh Hart scoring in different amounts. And then you have Carl, who didn't show up. You have Mikal, who didn't show up. And you have Jalen Brunson, who always shows up. Is the efficiency great? No. You have guys like Jordan Clarkson, who show up, who made 2 threes. It made like a wild like step back one, like falling away. Like it was a Kobe Bryant three. It was crazy. Just chucked it up and it went in um, throughout the course of this game. And that felt like a backbreaker one as well, but it didn't break the Spurs' spirit. And you kind of just waste these kind of little nice games from at least on the Knicks side for from your role players. And I mean, this was bound to happen for the Knicks, and you just hoped maybe it was in Game 4 when you were up like 3-1 instead. Now the Spurs are definitely back in this series, which we're going to get to in a little bit. Um, Vic hit a huge three. Um, and got fouled on it by Mitchell Robinson. This is late in game. There's like maybe plus 6 minutes left in the game. So not late in the game, but getting close to crunch time. And then they reversed the call because Mitchell Robinson got pushed in the Vic. So no three didn't count, no free throws, and I think the Spurs were over the limit at this point, so the Knicks shot free throws. Um, with under 6 minutes left, however, despite the reverse call from the refs, the Spurs remained up with 6 minutes left. The Spurs played great defense for what is that, like 2 minutes? 2 minutes of game time, leading into the 3:50 mark. Um, Wemby has the ball in his hand, um, running out of time. Castle is standing there just waiting. His hands are ready. Wemby throws him a grenade. Castle sets up, takes the shot, makes it. Crazy. And then Jalen Brunson comes down, hits a three, and then Fox answers right back. I believe it was a 2 point shot, a 3 point shot. And that was pretty much the game right there. And then at some point, I don't know if this was between the Jalen Brunson shot and the Aaron Fox shot, but at some point, at some point, the Spurs were inbounding the ball during these sequences, and Wemby inbounds it to Stephon Castle, and then Fox runs up to Castle and is like asking for the ball, and Castle gives it to him, and you could tell Fox is like, I'm not letting you do nothing in these closing seconds. We saw what happened last time. You turned over the ball. Um, But yeah, this was a great. I want to say a great 48 minutes of basketball for the Spurs, but it was probably the most amount of good basketball I've seen from the Spurs in this series. Um, was it a pretty game? No. Was it like the what did somebody else say? Throwing stones at each other? Sure, yeah, they were throwing stones at each other. But you look at the final score. Spurs got the win, 115 to the Knicks 111. Um, you win in the small places and you take it where you can get it. Um, I just hope, not hope. I'm not rooting for the Spurs. I think I've made this very clear. I'm not rooting for the Spurs, but I want a good series. I hope the Spurs can take something really positive away from this and maybe push the Knicks a little bit more. Because with all the stuff going on, um, well, let me put it this way: we're not talking about what was happening last night. We're talking about New York as a whole. It feels like maybe the fans weren't really into this game as much on the Knicks side of things, which is concerning. It feels like maybe put it this way, right? Maybe the real Knicks fans that would make this Knicks MSG, home court advantage a bit better have been priced out, and like you have all these like finance bros and tech bros and all these like A-list, B-list, C-list celebrities sitting courtside. I'm not talking about Timothée Chalamet, but I'm talking about all the rest of the people that just aren't into the game. They're just there because it's a status symbol to be at the game, and it doesn't feel like they're into the game. And it feels like if this was a reasonably priced game and the Knicks had their real fans there, it would be more of a home court advantage. But it feels like, at least this game, it felt very bleh. It felt very it didn't really feel like the fans, quote unquote Knicks fans, were into it. It just didn't feel like that. Um, and the Spurs come in and get it. I won't want to say an easy game, but an easier game in comparison to the last two. Um, I do want to make something of note here at the end. Because I teased it all video last video and then I completely forgot about it. Even though Karl Anthony Towns had a bad game this game, I do want to shout out Karl Anthony Towns for his effort in the first two games of this series. The Karl Anthony Towns renaissance is happening. And as somebody who's been very critical of Karl Anthony Towns, even previous to me having this channel, um, I'm happy to see him doing well. He's one of those players that like you feel like maybe might never have reached his potential being comfortable and staying in Minnesota. And he had to be forced to be uncomfortable and go to a new city and a new team and a new coach, well, at least a new coach this year, and just grow as a person, And he's grown immensely on the court. He's grown immensely off the court, and he's been very open about saying, Victor is a great player, and going against him, maybe looking back on it in the future, going against potentially an all-time great um, is something, and playing well is something to be proud of, and something to you want the championship, and even if you lose this, it's heartbreaking. But for Cole to match up against Wemby so well, at least in the first two games, we'll see what happens in Game 4, is something to be. Is something to marvel at. Just be like, yeah, that's Karl Anthony Towns. You remember that guy? But yeah, that's it. That's the video. Um, anything else? Anything else for Game 4 that I wanna mention? Oh, the free throw disparity. This game. Coach Mike Brown for the Knicks was like upset at the free throw disparity in the second half, especially because what they don't want you to know is the Knicks led the Spurs in free throw attempts in the first half, and then Mike Brown just got upset that they didn't in the second half. Um, so there's that for thought. I don't think complaining helps. I mean, talking about it is good. You gotta let people know and make people like do their own research and look at it. But Mike Brown complaining doesn't help. Just play the game. Just play the game. And I'll give Mike Brown a lot of credit. He is very passionate and he's very animated sometimes. But they're just focused on the game. Just tell you guys get to the line more, get in the paint more. You would have more free throws if Karl Anthony Towns was in the paint more. Um, you would have more free throws if Mikal Bridges went to the rack instead of falling away and fading away on every shot, on his jump shots. Just stuff to look at internally before you start blaming the refs. And by no means am I defending the refs, but you have guys on this team who are suspect and are very known to not get to the free throw line a lot. Mikal Bridges is one of those guys, and he scored 2 points. Yeah, that's it. That's the video. The end screen should be playing right now. Check out the video on the left. Check out the playlist on the right. If you click on the icon right in the middle of the screen, a little subscribe will pop up, and you can subscribe with ease, like and comment as well. And I will see you guys next time. Cheers.